Hello and welcome to News Now, coming to you live from our studio in Nigeria. My name is Chuks Ene, and here are the headlines at this hour. Human rights activists protest police brutality and extrajudicial killings in Kenya. Somalia's Prime Minister invites regional state leaders to finalize talks on September 17 agreement. Nigeria bans entry for foreigners from India, Brazil, and Turkey due to rising cases of COVID-19 in those countries. Details shortly. We begin in Kenya, where the Police Reforms Working Group says it has received a number of complaints on police brutality from specific officers. A statement from the human rights organization describes the officers as serial killers and calls on the Ministry of Interior, the National Police Service, and the Independent Policing Oversight Authority to bring the officers involved to justice. Earlier, we spoke to Martin Mavenjina, the Program Advisor of Transitional Justice on police torture and extrajudicial killings in Kenya. In Tanzania, President Suluhu Hassan is expected to arrive in Kenya on Tuesday for a two-day state visit. State House spokesperson Kanze Dena Mararo on Sunday said President Uhuru Kenyatta will receive his Tanzanian counterpart at the State House, Nairobi. Last month, Kenyan Sports and Heritage Cabinet Secretary Ambassador Amina Mohammed was in Tanzania for talks on strengthening the relationships between the two countries. Hassan insists the administration is determined to solve some of the existing issues between Tanzania and Kenya. We'll move to Central Africa, where the military council in charge of Chad has lifted the overnight curfew that was imposed following the death of President Idris Deby last month. The curfew had been imposed following concern for the country's stability as a rebel group tried to advance on the capital in Jamena. There have been protests against the military takeover that followed the president's death. At least 6 people were killed last week in Chad. Demonstrations have also been held in various cities around the world, including Paris. Meantime, at least 4 people were shot and wounded in Chad's southern Mandul region when security forces fired upon a crowd of demonstrators. Witnesses said police fired live ammunition into the crowd of protesters. Civil society leaders in the neighboring town of Kumra said a dozen people were arrested during a parallel protest. We stay in that region where a senior Muslim cleric in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo has been shot dead while praying in the main mosque in Beni City. A human rights activist said the gunman shot Sheikh Ali Amini during evening prayers and fled. The cleric was a strong critic of Islamic militancy in the region. To West Africa, where unidentified gunmen have killed 16 soldiers and wounded 6 others in an ambush in southwest Niger. The attack on an army patrol occurred in the Tahoe region of the West African country, where raids killed 137 civilians in March. It is unclear who carried out the attack, but the area is overrun by militant groups with links to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. In neighboring Nigeria, a state commissioner has been killed while a local government chairman was abducted in the country's southwestern state of Kogi. The police confirmed the killing of the state commissioner of the Pensions Board, Solomon Akeweje, and abduction of the chairman of Yagba West local government, Pius Kolawole. Spokesman for the State Police Command, William Aya, said both men were attacked while traveling in the same vehicle. Police said the driver of the vehicle survived the attack and the kidnappers are yet to make any demands. We stay in Nigeria. The military says it has rescued a student kidnapped in the mid-central state of Plateau. The Special Task Force of the Army, known as Operation Safe Haven, rescued the victim, who is a student of King's College, Ghana Rope, in Barking Ladi local government area of Plateau. He was kidnapped on April 29, so the spokesman of the military says. Major Ibrahim Shitu also said on Sunday that the victim was rescued unhurt and without ransom. He called on residents of the state to support and cooperate with the task force by providing useful information that would stem the tide of insecurity in the state. We'll stay in Nigeria, where in the southeastern state of Ebonyi, suspected gunmen on Saturday attacked Abaomege police station, making away with valuables and destroying property. The State Commissioner for Internal Security, Stanley Okoro Emega, confirmed the attack in the state capital, Abakaliki, on Sunday. The commissioner described the attack as unfortunate and worrisome and urged the police to step up their strategy in dealing with hoodlums. To the Horn of Africa, where Somalia's Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Rebel has officially invited presidents of the federal member states and the governor of Benadir Regional Administration to the National Consultative Assembly to finalize the 17 September agreement between the federal government of Somalia and the FMS. The meeting is set to take place on Thursday, May 20, in the capital, Mogadishu. This will enable Somalia to hold elections soon. Further down the continent, South Africa's Environment Ministry has vowed to clamp down on captive lion breeding after a review panel concluded the industry risks the conservation of wild lions and harmed tourism. In the nearly 600-page report, the panel recommended that South Africa ends the breeding and keeping of captive lions for economic gain, including hunting them and tourist interactions such as cub petting. On rhino horn and elephant ivory stockpiles, the panel recommended that the minister consult other countries in the Southern Africa bloc to determine under what conditions current ivory and rhino horn stockpiles can be disposed of. Coming up, Nigeria has issued a travel ban against foreigners coming into the country from India, Brazil, and Turkey. We have details when we return. Welcome back. Usually observed the last week of April annually, the International Immunization Week 2020 has just wound up. This year's theme, Vaccines Bring Us Closer, aims to promote greater awareness on immunization globally and foster the importance of vaccination across Africa. In this report, News Central's Chidima Ihane takes a look at the significance of immunization for Africa.
Immunization saves millions of lives every year and is widely recognized as one of the world's most successful health interventions. Yet, there are still nearly 20 million children in the world today who are not getting the vaccines they need, and many miss out on vital vaccines during adolescence, adulthood, and into old age.
Globally, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to intensify. Cases have now increased for the 9th straight week, and deaths have increased for the 6th straight week.
World Immunization Week, celebrated every year in the last week of April, aims to promote the use of vaccines to protect people of all ages against disease. It is a global public health campaign to raise awareness and increase rates of immunization against vaccine-preventable diseases around the world.
Vaccines are one of the most powerful and transformative inventions in history. Thanks to vaccines, smallpox is now in the history books. Polio has been pushed to the brink of eradication, and once feared diseases like diphtheria, tetanus, and meningitis are now easily prevented. And new vaccines continue to push back the frontiers of disease. In the past 15 years, new vaccines have been approved to prevent cervical cancer, malaria, and Ebola. And now, safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines have been developed in record time, bringing us closer to ending the pandemic.
International organizations are offered an opportunity to highlight the significance of immunization by creating campaigns and building awareness on universal immunization coverage.
Vaccines have always been inequitably distributed. But now is the time to change this. We can use this unique moment in time to spur long-term momentum towards finally achieving universal access to routine immunizations and broader primary health care.
While the world focuses on critically important new vaccines to protect against COVID-19, there remains a need to ensure routine vaccinations are not missed. Chidima Ihanitu, News Central Television.
Health authorities in Nigeria have announced an entry ban for non-Nigerian passengers who have been in Brazil, India, or Turkey in the last 14 days due to concerns over the spread of coronavirus in those three nations. A statement on Sunday from the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 said the travel ban does not apply to passengers who have transited through those countries. It said Nigerians and the permanent residents who have been in those countries in the last 14 days will have to undergo mandatory quarantine for a week in a government-approved facility on arrival. Nigeria has so far reported over 165,000 cases of COVID-19 and 2,063 deaths. Similarly, Rwanda Air has announced the suspension of flights to Mumbai, India, due to the increase in COVID-19 cases and deaths. The suspension is effective May 1st. However, the airline did not provide an expected resumption date. In a statement, Rwanda Air said affected customers can rebook and fly at a later date once flights resume at no additional cost. It adds that customers can also request for a travel voucher or a refund. The airline now joins the list of African airlines that have suspended flights to India, among them Kenya Airways and Uganda Airlines. And Kenya on Sunday recorded 369 new coronavirus cases, raising the country's total tally to over 160,000 cases. The Ministry of Health said 72 people have recovered from the disease, raising the total number of recoveries above 108,000. However, 19 people succumbed to the disease, with total fatalities from COVID-19 now at 2,763. Kenya, which kicked off its vaccination drive last month, has inoculated over 886,000 people against COVID-19. Earlier, President Uhuru Kenyatta lifted a ban on movement in and out of the capital, Nairobi, and 4 other counties deemed COVID-19 hotspots amid declining infections.
These measures that we institute today and all other interventions that the government has made over the last 14 months are geared towards responding to the unprecedented health threat that has gripped the world. I want to once again reiterate that we have instituted these restrictions with no joy. However, as a government with a responsibility and the mandate to protect the lives of Kenyans, we must fully acknowledge that that responsibility that is bestowed upon us calls for action to secure the lives of our people. Over the last year, we have witnessed challenges in other parts of the world, where the surge of infections has nearly led to the collapse of some globally acclaimed health systems. We see that happening even as we speak today. In moments like this, we are all called upon to make sacrifices for one another, for the collective good. It is never, and I repeat again, never the intent of government to make life difficult or unbearable for any of our citizens. Finally, as we prepare for the reopening of schools, let me emphasize again that our staying power in the fight against this pandemic is our greatest arsenal. I say so because if public responsiveness to health protocols goes up, then the possibility of further de-escalating the containment measures is within reach.
In South Africa, the Health Minister, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, says the first batch of Pfizer vaccines, comprising 325,260 doses, will land at QR Tambo International Airport tonight, May 2nd. Dr. Mkhize made the announcement on Sunday, adding that the samples upon arrival will be transported initially to a central warehouse. Dr. Zweli said the country is expecting approximately the same number of doses to arrive on a weekly basis, to a total of over 1.3 million doses by the end of May. In a statement, the minister also said South Africa has received communication that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine awaiting dispatch in Gebehar are to be released around May. Still ahead, Israel is observing a day of mourning for those killed on Friday at a Jewish religious festival. We have details when we return. Glad to have you back. Israel is observing a day of mourning for the 45 people crushed to death at a Jewish religious festival, with flags lowered to half-staff and questions raised about their accountability for one of the country's worst civilian disasters. In accordance with Jewish tradition, funerals were held with as little delay as possible. More than 20 of the victims of Friday's disaster on Mount Meron were buried overnight after official identification was completed. Israel media estimate that some 100,000 people attended the event on Friday. The Justice Ministry said investigators would look into whether there had been any police misconduct. 4 astronauts have returned safely to Earth from the International Space Station on Sunday in a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule, parachuting to splash into the Gulf of Mexico. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, announced their return, which marks the end of the first crew rotation mission to the station. The capsule, dubbed Resilience by the crew, splashed down in darkness of the coast of Panama City, Florida. The mission was part of NASA's public-private partnership with SpaceX, the rocket company founded in 2002 by Elon Musk.
More like a race car pit stop than anything else. Everybody was at the right spot and did the right things. And then, obviously the weather was great. We picked a great night for this operation. So everything came together and resulted in these record-breaking times for getting the Dragon out of the water and the crew out of Dragon then. So great operation. Congratulations.
Talking business now, Zambia and Angola have penned a $5 billion deal to build a pipeline to transport finished petroleum products from the oil-rich country. Zambia's ambassador to Angola, Lawrence Chalungumana, says once completed, the multi-product petroleum pipeline will transport petrol, diesel, kerosene, and gas. The ambassador explained that the pipeline project would cost about $5 billion and 2 state companies will be strategic equity partners. Sudan Gold from Angola and Industrial Development Corporation from Zambia. In sports, Inter Milan have won their first Serie A title since 2010. The win stops Juventus from picking up their 9th consecutive title. Inter's 2-0 win over Crotone on Saturday meant Atalanta had to beat Sassuolo in order to take the title race to the wire. However, Atalanta's 1-1 draw with Sassuolo has given Antonio Conte his first Serie A title in 6 years. Arsenal's African players were on target on Sunday as the travelling Gunners defeated Newcastle 2-0 at St. James Park. Egyptian Mohamed El Neni scored his first Premier League goal to put Arsenal ahead inside the opening 5 minutes, while Gabon's Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang doubled the lead in the 66th minute to give the Gunners a deserved win against the host. The host managed just one shot on target, and the lost defender Fabian Schär to a straight red card in the 90th minute for a late challenge on Gabriel Martinelli. Meanwhile, Manchester United's game against Liverpool has been postponed after about 200 fans broke into Old Trafford to protest against the Glazer family ownership of the club. The fixture was scheduled to kick off at 16:30 British Standard Time on Sunday. A statement said the decision to postpone the game was taken after consultations with the police, both clubs, the Premier League, and local authorities. Talks will now take place about rearranging the game. And that's all on the news at this hour. Human rights activists have protested police brutality and extrajudicial killings in Kenya. Somalia's Prime Minister has invited regional state leaders to finalize talks on September 17 agreement. And finally, we also told you that Nigeria has announced an entry ban for foreigners from India, Brazil, and Turkey due to rising cases of COVID-19 in those countries. Remember, you can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also catch up with our news and programs by just downloading the News Central TV mobile app on Play Store and Apple Store. You can also watch us live on Star Times, channel 274. My name is Chooks, and thanks for watching.